Greetings, all Rastas, Israelites scattered amongst the heathens, Judah scattered to the four corners of the earth, and all God-fearing people, I greet you. It is important that Israel find himself for the salvation of all mankind. Today, lots of people are claiming to identifying with Israel. Now we have scholars who are doing some road preaching and road teaching, who are saying that the Indians in the Americas are the lost tribes of Israel, and they are using the book of Idras. And from the book of Idras, chapter 13, verse 42, they are saying that these Indians are the Israelites to correspond with that particular text. Then we have a Caucasian pastor, Eli James, who is saying that the Caucasian race are the lost tribe of Israel spoken in the Bible. And he is using the book of Idras, quoting from the same text, so as to substantiate that they are the last tribe of Israel that went away in the 700 and about 21 to 24, 25 BC. Give and take. 721 to about 725 BC. He's using 725 BC. But there's one thing that we need to note here, is that these brothers are the ones who is telling the Indians here, are saying that the Indians here are Israelites. But Pastor Eli James, the Caucasian preacher, he's reading from the book. He's presenting the book. It is not the brothers on the street corner that is presenting the book for Pastor Eli, like they are doing for the Indians. This is Pastor Eli James, this Caucasian preacher, presenting this account from the book of Idras to substantiate that they are Israel. And as I said before in the video, I will not doubt that he is of Israel. Because in this book, Leviticus chapter 13, it reads, "And the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron, saying, When a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or a bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh, like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons, the priests. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh. When the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in the sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. The priest shall look again, and pronounce him unclean. If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and his sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof not turned white, then the priest shall shut him up that had the plague 7 days. And the priest shall look on him the 7th day, and behold, if the plague in his sight be at a stay, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days more. And the priest shall look on him again the 7th day, and behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. But if it be a scab, it is but a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. Now, let's go down to verse 12. Verse 12 says, and if a leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that had the plague, from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy cover all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that had the plague. It is all torn white. He is clean. This was to Moses and Aaron. And this is concerning this leprosy that struck Israel. And it is telling you which of Israel the priest, after examining, can declare clean. Now it happens that in Israel, due to this leprosy, many Israelites became white, white, leprous. But again, it was the high priest's duty to check them out and make sure, according to prescription, and declare it who is clean and who is unclean. So, we should have no problem concerning white Israel. But this is what happened. Those who went through that experience who became white, and those of the original Israelites, the black one, like me, they intermarried with those who turned white. And so it was in Israel with the intermarriages. Within Israel, they were all Israelites. And Israel became a colorful nation. So today, we must not be looking at color. Israel got to come together for the salvation of all mankind. And Israel, you cannot be racist. I understand the experience that our people went through in this part of the world. And the perpetrator of that crime is Edom, Esau. That was the perpetrator of that crime. And he had used and misused lots of the white Israelites, lots of them who he had brought out into this part of the world. And he had made them indentured servants. Before he brought our fathers out here, they were the indentured servants. And there was an order came from, had to been from the church, that no Christian should be a slave. And they use Christian here as a euphemism for being white skin, because in that same slave business that they had going on, they had black people had slaves too, and there were black people who had white slaves. So we won't go into that, and let us not argue over anything like that. Let us stick with the scripture. Many of the Israelites turned white in the land of Canaan. So we have to pay attention, even to the white ones. They need to back away from this racist mentality, that poison. Until they humble themselves, they will get nowhere. Jah love, and thank you for listening.